In this week's video, we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety, depression, and my testimony with that, as well as a discussion about miscarriage as well. So stay tuned and we'll get right into it. So anxiety and depression, some of my testimony with that, and some of you may say, really, anxiety and depression, but it is a real thing. I really didn't think too much into it until it really happened to me. And it's a very spiritual and real battle. And for me, it was very dark, very lonely, and Satan really had a hold of me during that time. It was after I had my oldest child, Luella, and we noticed some things I was struggling with, even more so, just like my mentality and how I was thinking, and we didn't really know what was going on. We ended up finding out through all of that, all of those struggles with anxiety and depression, that I do have a hormone issue. God has helped me a lot with that, but it took through all that experience to find that out. And I do have it more under control now. We found out I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that creates a lot of those mental trouble and hormone trouble. And if I hadn't went through some of that, I wouldn't be able to testify into how God has helped me through those things. Do I still struggle with it some? Sure, I do, but it is so much better than it was before, and without God helping me, I don't know where I'd be as far as all that goes. During that time, I started just feeling like everyone hated me, and truthfully, I do still struggle with that some today. But it was to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't get dressed. I just didn't care anymore about how I felt about myself. I couldn't do a lot of things. I couldn't hardly take care of my kiddo at the time. That time was very much sort of a blur to me, just because Satan had such a hold onto me and my mind. I experienced a lot of spiritual battles. I couldn't sleep at night. During the day, I was so tired. I had panic attacks so bad. It looked like I was having seizures, and I don't know. It was just so dark for me. I was seeing things out of my peripheral vision that wasn't there, and I know that it was just Satan and his helpers and just tormenting me. And it got so bad I wanted to hurt myself, and I did try to hurt myself. I didn't really care anymore, and my husband, he didn't know what to do. And I will tell you, this was after I was saved, guys, and it was just such a struggle. And so I was wanting to do this video just to kind of bring that to light a little bit. That's part of my testimony, and God has helped me so much with that. We ended up finding out all the hormone issues that I had going on and stuff, which helped. I did have to be hospitalized and whatever you want to call it, institutionalized, whatever, for a little while, and it was an experience for sure. And I know that God put certain people in the hospital for me for a reason, and I knew it was Him. I knew it was Him. And we ended up, we prayed over our home. We took out some things that maybe we really didn't need in our home. And by that I mean things like old CDs that we used to listen to as teenagers that we knew it wasn't glorifying God, or just different things like that. We did a house cleaning. We prayed over our home, and God revealed Himself unto me. I won't get too far into that, but God revealed Himself unto me as far as we were praying over me, and he revealed himself unto me, just the shape of him as a light, and it was just so amazing and scary at the same time. But I'm so thankful for that, because that was a turning point for me and my anxiety and depression, and it started to get better from there. And I was reading in Hebrews this week, and so I thought that's why I was going to talk about this. I was reading in Hebrews about how the Son was faithful. And despite things that we may be going through right now, like in the moment, don't let that keep you from being faithful and knowing that God's still going to take care of you. In that moment, I didn't feel like God was taking care of me. And it's hard to see that when things are so bad and so dark. But God is always faithful to his children. And it talks about in Hebrews chapter 3 that Moses was also faithful in all his house. For this one has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses. Is talking about Jesus. Because he was the one, inasmuch as he who built the house has more honor than the house. And, you know, Moses, the children of Israel, they questioned Moses and what he was doing, what God sent him to do. They were like, we might as well just go back to Egypt where we were slaves, you know, and they just questioned all of that. They couldn't see farther than that moment they were in. Okay? And it talks about, in Hebrews chapter 3, it talks about if we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm to the end. Being faithful and having that hope despite how things are looking right at the moment. And it is so hard to do. It is so hard to do that. But our faith has to grow. It has to get bigger. And we have to go through those things sometimes in order for our faith to get bigger. And, you know, it's just, that was probably one of the most difficult times in my life, was when I was struggling with all of that. Do I think sometimes we need to, you know, dig our heels in even though we feel a little sad? Sure, I do. But mine, I know at that time, was beyond that. I was in a real battle at the time, in a battle of the mind. And I was going to talk about, I have had a miscarriage, and those of you struggling with miscarriages, I will pray for you, because I know I have a lot of my family is already gone. They've passed away. I lost my father when I was very young. I was 11 years old. I only have one grandparent left. My uncles passed away before I was born. And my family has went through a lot of pain as far as some of that goes. But nothing compared to losing a child. And it was the child that I was expecting after I had Luella, before I had my middle one, Leah. And Leah is my rainbow baby. You know, when it comes to miscarriage, it literally feels, I know what that feels like. And it feels like a hole, literally, in your heart. I remember experiencing all that. You still experience having the child, and it's just, you'll never forget it. And if you're struggling with that, please try not to look into the moment or be like, you know, why is God letting this happen? And you do, you just automatically do. And I know that, because I did. And it wasn't until God revealed to me, I was like just talking to God in my head, and I was like, you know, thinking about how the baby, when it opens its eyes, it won't see me for the first time, you know, when it first opens its eyes. But God come into my head, and he said, no, but it's going to see me. And I thought, and from that moment, it was like a lot of my pain was replaced with joy and peace about the situation. Because, I mean, what greater person could my baby open its eyes for the first time and see than the most important person in my life. And that just gave me such a peace in that moment. And do I still have a hard time with it? Yeah, I do. When Mother's Day rolls around, it's really hard for me because that's when the weekend we had lost the baby was around Mother's Day, and you'll never forget it. But God will help you through that if you just let Him. If we try not to look too much into just the moment. God always takes care of His children. He took care of Moses and the children of Israel, and He will take care of you too if we stay faithful. Just like Jesus stayed faithful, you know. When He was in the desert and He was fasting for that long period of time, you know, His faith had to be so big. And He said we will do greater things than He does. And we need to have that desire to have our faith that big. And I believe we can. It's not easy. But I was just reading that in Hebrews this week, and I thought I would kind of share that with you guys. I wasn't very far along when I miscarried. I'm kind of glad I wasn't that far into my pregnancy. I'm sure that is very hard to be farther into your pregnancy and deal with that. But please look at what God does for you, not just in the moment, not just the circumstances, the bad circumstances that you're in right now, but look farther than that, because it says that we can, if we hold fast the confidence and rejoicing of the hope firm to the end. And it's hard to have that confidence when we're at our weakest point. So I pray that our confidence and our faith can grow in the Lord, and despite the circumstances that we're in right now, maybe. That's all I have for you guys this week. That's a little more, I guess, about me and some of the things that I've went through. And I hope that, I know this video is kind of dark and dreary a little bit, but it doesn't have to be. I pray that your faith and my faith can grow as well. And I just thank you guys so much for watching, and I appreciate you guys very much. So we will talk to you guys next week. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.